How would you like some additional stimulus? Just a little bit extra money. Well, guess what? It's about to happen. Now I know President Biden has already approved billions and billions of dollars in stimulus over the past few years. But new reports are now saying that he is not done, and everybody knows it. Because President Biden, he wants to ensure that the U.S. can get out of the mess that we are currently in. And he's open to doing everything in his power, and potentially a little bit more, to make sure this happens. Now, in these reports that I'm going to talk about in this video, they are talking about additional relief, more stimulus to millions and millions of Americans, and that this stimulus will impact the U.S. economy. So in just a moment, I'm going to explain all that. But first, all I ask is if you want to stay up to date on all the latest news regarding the U.S. economy, then make sure you do two things. First, hit the like button on this video, and also click that subscribe button so you can stay up to date. But let's address the latest news coming out of the Biden administration and what is their goal in stimulating the economy even more. Well, here's what I can tell you. Here's what we should expect happening right now. The first thing that we need to expect is that everybody should be prepared for the speech today. President Biden is going to give a speech today to talk about what the White House is dubbing his whole economic plan, which is Bidenomics. I addressed this the other day. If you didn't get a chance to go and watch that video, I highly recommend you go and watch it. And it would kind of fill you in on what's happened up to today. Now, Bidenomics, I'll just give you a quick little recap. Bidenomics is a general plan to increase wages for the middle class, to reduce junk fees or eliminate junk fees, expand high-speed internet access to everybody, improve manufacturing investments, and there's more in there as well. But again, we will hear all of that today in President Biden's speech. Now, this is not where it stops, and this is where a lot of people are struggling, is how can we improve today? Because manufacturing investments are going to take years. Getting access to high-speed internet in very rural areas, again, going to take many months or potentially years. Reducing junk fees or completely eliminating them. Yes, that can help today, but it's still very slow. Because again, how much money are we really spending on junk fees, right? And if you know, answer that question. I looked for myself personally, and over the past month, really over the since June 1st, okay, today's June 28th, but since June 1st, for the past really 28 days, in junk fees, or what I consider junk fees from banks or ticketing sites or airlines. I haven't gone anywhere, so no big deal there. But I've only spent about $6 in junk fees, okay, in everything that I've paid for, what I'd consider a junk fee, okay. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below as well. But here's where things are at. According to multiple members of the Biden administration, there's going to be some changes. And one of the changes that we are expecting is we are potentially still on the verge of a recession. And this could be extremely painful for millions and millions of Americans. But how do we avoid a recession? Well, it may be too late to avoid a recession, but according to multiple members from the Biden administration, they will avoid a slow and painful economic recovery like we saw in the 2008 financial crisis. Again, if you remember this, President Biden was at that time the vice president. Okay, we were under President Barack Obama. And at that time, there was a somewhat of a stimulus package that went out. I believe it was between $700 and $800 billion in funding and investments. But guess what? It wasn't enough. That is what caused a slow and painful economic recovery. As a result, what happened in this economic recovery that we've seen over the past couple of years, the Biden administration overspent, and they knew it. They knew they overspent, okay? But they also have agreed and they committed to overspending again. If we dip into a recession, according to these reports, according to these members, again, who don't want to be named, and I completely understand why, but they are committing to overspending again to get us out of a recession. That's what they're going to do. So, how could they overspend? And why would they? Well, here's the reason why. Right now, the expectation and the statement that came out this morning from the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, he said that more restrictions are coming. He also said he would not take 2 consecutive rate hikes off the table, which means that is still open for discussion and it's a high possibility. But this could be President Biden's big chance to get additional relief out to the hardest hit Americans. But again, how are we going to get it out? Is it going to come in the form of, okay, you need $200, here you go, here's $200 for you, here's $200 for you, here's $200 for you? Is that how it's going to work? Well, the answer is no. Here's what it's going to look like according to multiple reports. They say, first, we're waiting on an answer from the Supreme Court on student loan forgiveness. This could potentially wipe out about $1.6 trillion, or actually $1.8 trillion in student loan debt. Now, with that said, if the Supreme Court blocks this from happening, the reports indicate that the expectation is that President Biden is going to still move forward, but in a different way. The reason for this is because of what comes on next year. In 2024, we have a presidential election. One of the bigger groups of voters, according to this report, is black voters. And the reason why we have to eliminate student loan debt, or there has to be some type of student loan reform, is because 6 out of 10 black student loan borrowers have more than $25,000 in student loan debt and are some of the hardest hit individuals over the past few years. But it says both parties need to reach the black voters in order to win this next election. So this could be the Biden administration's chance of almost buying your vote. Okay? But again, we'll see what happens. But again, it doesn't stop there. The Biden administration is also pushing for the additional expansion of the child tax credit payments. And in a recent poll, it shows that families would be more likely, 72% more likely to vote for Democrats in the next election if the child tax credit payments were reinstated. But if these payments are not reinstated, it wouldn't actually hurt Republicans. It wouldn't hinder Republicans in their chances of getting the votes for the 2024 presidential election. But again, it doesn't stop there. Here's what President Biden also has a plan to do. He has a plan, obviously, to forgive student loan debt, provide the expanded child tax credit payments. Now, in those 2 instances, he's taking care of the younger children and also student debt holders. But there's another large group. This is the elderly. We've been talking about this for the past really year or so, that 2023 is supposed to be the year of Social Security. Well, many insiders believe that 2023 is still the year of Social Security, even though we're almost 7 months in and we have yet to see anything done. But they say this could actually be addressed this year. One of the main changes could be to the cost of living adjustment. They say we could see the cost of living adjustment change its calculation, and the calculation could be based off the CPI-E. This is the consumer price index, but for elderly. This would be a major move. It would also create a small bump in monthly benefits. But this is also where the Biden administration comes in and says, but we need the wealthy to pay for this. Because again, how do we see a bump in benefits, but we do not bring in more revenue? This is only going to increase or speed up the timeline of when the Social Security trust fund would become insolvent. So that's not something they want to do. But again, that's where the discussions are currently at. But here's why this is so important. Because President Biden is already approving of additional stimulus. He's already approving of more relief to the American people. Larger tax breaks, larger tax cuts, right? Get rid of taxes at the state level for Social Security recipients. Just improve our daily lives. He's already agreeing to this. He approves of this. But what do we see moving forward? That's the issue. But what I can tell you is that the Biden administration is dead set on ensuring that the U.S. economy does not go through a long, slow, painful economic recovery. So if we do dip into a recession, the expectation is that the Biden administration will do whatever it can to provide additional relief and get us out of that recession in record time. Now, whether it happens or not, I don't know, but I will be here every step of the way, and I will fill you in on all the latest news and updates. All you got to do is two things. First, hit the like button on this video. Also, click that subscribe button so you never miss an update, and I will see you guys on the next one.